Hey everyone, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. I have someone who is amazing. Okay, it's amazing. She runs one of the best groups on Facebook. If you ever need a guest, then you need to go and follow the links to this group. Sign up today. All you podcasters out there who are looking for great guests, you need to go here now because I know it works and it's amazing. Angel's on the podcast. Angel, welcome to the How to Podcast series. It's so great to have you here.
Oh my gosh, David, it's so great to be here. I loved our little banter before we turned on the microphone and hit record. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on your show and for using the Need a Guest platform to find great guests.
It is spectacular, like 34,000 people in this group. This is amazing. How long has this group been around?
It's not very old. We started it in 2020. And it took a couple of years to get off the ground. But really, in the last 12 months, we have doubled in size. We were about 15,000 subscribers about 13 months ago. And we're just about in like any moment now, we're going to cross over 34,000 subscribers in the group.
It's amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
It is so crazy. And before we hit record, I was mentioning to you how much I love your group. I've met some of the best people in the world on this page.
Me too.
Well, yeah, I know. It's just like they're so kind, and the people that are on there are always encouraging, and people are asking questions. They're looking for this type of person for this type of podcast. It's such a great community. I love everything about it. For you and for the group there, like, what are some of the big things that stand out to you that you're like, this is really working? Like, this is really happening. We're seeing the success that we wanted for this group. What kind of things stand out for you?
Well, great question. The group started just as a whim for me, David. I have a background in broadcasting. I was a radio talk show host. I've done television, magazines. I was a speaker teaching entrepreneurs how to do their own PR. But people were always coming to me, David, saying, I need a guest. Hey, Angel, I've got a show. I've got a stage. I've got this. I need a guest who speaks on blank. And just because of my network, I could play matchmaker. I'm like, here, let me introduce you to David. David would be a great guest. He's a perfect fit for you. And so started this Facebook group as a way to bring people together because the requests were coming in faster than I could really respond to and more and bigger than I could really handle. So I started this Facebook group and I would have been happy if it had 1,000 people in it. But it did. It took off, hit 10,000 people, and then it hit 15,000. And then it just, like, every 3 weeks, we were crossing over a new milestone for a hot minute there and decided to really pay attention and focus on what made the group successful, what were people looking for, how do we make sure it's a safe place, incredibly valuable, engaging. And now today, as we cross over 34,000 subscribers and members in it, we have community managers that help monitor the group, help guide the guests, right? So we only allow for 2 types of posts in the group, which was a big, big rule for us. Either I need a guest, somebody like you, here's my show, here's what I'm looking for, or I want to be a guest, and this is what I speak on. So super clean, super engaging, and yeah, I'm so proud of it.
It's amazing. Okay, so give us some general good practices on Need a Guest for us to have our post be seen and engaged with. Are we looking for hashtags in our post that call out Need a Guest or Be a Guest? What kind of things are a good to-dos when we make our first post on Need a Guest?
Okay, great questions. Yeah, so the exposure, right? I think we're all looking for more visibility to get our message out, to let people know we exist or our show exists. So what makes Need a Guest so valuable is if you want to be a guest or need a guest. So hashtag be a guest or hashtag need a guest. Those are great places to start. Not necessary. People will find you if you don't use the right hashtags. It's okay. But if you do a hashtag, this is a be a guest post, this is what I speak on, this is my topic, and a fun lifestyle picture, right? Showcasing you and in your element. If you share something about you connect. 'Cause we're looking for humans, right? People want that human touch. This is part of why I think podcasting is so exciting right now, is because with all the technology and automation and all of that, people need that human connection more than ever.
Yeah.
And being able to listen to your voice on a podcast interview or see your face and have that expression, I just think the human connection is so powerful. So hashtag be a guest. Go introduce yourself. Tell us what you speak on. Tell us what you're passionate about. If I handed you a microphone and said, without any preparation, right, what could you talk about for 20 minutes? Like, stay in your space and share your stories. And then the second type of post that we allow is need a guest, right? I need a guest for my show. And here's one of the reasons, David, now you're one of my new BFFs, is because you have multiple shows that you do.
Yeah.
And you broadcast definitely more than once a week. So if somebody comes in as a host and says, I do one episode a month, right? I need 10 to 12 guests over the course of the year. We're going to fill your calendar in 60 seconds, right? With incredible guests. So somebody who actually broadcasts at least weekly, or multiple times, or has multiple shows, and you're looking for really quality guests, when you come in and do a great post inside of the group, you're going to get engagement. Our engagement is off the charts. Great quality, great guests, great leads, but you've got to be super clear on the kind of guests you're looking for, because we'll fill your calendar up pretty quickly, which is why we're always on the hunt for new podcasters to join the group, because we can fill your calendar. We can fill your calendar with guests pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. So what are some good guesting practices that you would say to someone who wants to be a guest? Based on your knowledge and all of the stuff you've done in the past, there's got to be some key things you'd say to somebody who says, I want to be a guest angel. What do I need to know?
Well, for sure. So one of the big no-nos that I would first lead off with, David, is I see people say, I have an event I want to promote, or I have something I want to sell. I want to get booked on podcasts in order to do that. And to me, that's a big nay, right? It is, you're not there doing an infomercial. You didn't pay for advertising. It's not a sales pitch. It's a conversation. You're partnering with that podcast host, right? They're looking to bring value to their audience. They're looking for somebody who's going to promote the show, who's going to make them look good, who's going to be professional, show up on time, show up prepared. I mean, truly, this is an exclusive honor to be a guest on somebody else's show. Like, somebody has prepped and prepared and is doing all the back end work. As a guest, it is our job to show up as a valuable partner for you. So number one, it's not an opportunity to sell. You can, of course, encourage people to follow up with you and connect with you and lead them, right, to your opt-in, your, wherever books are sold, right? And encourage them to go back and follow up with you and connect with you. But I think the number one thing is don't sell. So the flip side of that is share your story, right? Your stories are what make you unique. Your story is what sets you apart from anybody else who's doing what you're doing or gone through something that you've gone through. It is your personal story that people relate to, can connect to, that they'll find, they'll build rapport and familiarity, encouragement, hope, right? That you've been through some stuff and now you've come out the other side. So I think that as a guest, I tell people I'm an expert guest, right? That's my profession is guest expert, or interview guest. But I take it very seriously, and I really want to show up and do the best I can for that podcast host whenever I come to a show.
Nice. When I have guests on, I do a pre-interview with everybody that I meet. So generally, I spend 2 hours with everybody. An hour roughly in pre-interview, and then an hour of recording. And there's like a couple weeks in between gap. Normally, that's how I do my show. So I've met with everybody ahead of time. So when I say that I've make time to record a podcast, I'm actually doing twice the amount of work with my guest. So the one thing that I'm really struggling with, sometimes it happens, not often, but sometimes it happens where, because I work nights, I do this during the daytime. So I'm giving up my sleep technically to do this, because normally I would be sleeping because I have to go to work tonight. So I work from 11 p.m. till 7 in the morning. So that's my shift. And I do that 5 nights a week. So when I do my schedule and book in time to have somebody come and meet with me, I'm sitting here waiting. Again, I could be sleeping, but I'm here waiting for them. And what happens sometimes is there seems to be a lack of commitment on the part of the guest to show up. And sometimes I actually just sit here and, I've been waiting for this person and they don't show. And that's really disappointing from a host perspective. Sure. To share that with the guests, that when you use a great service like Need a Guest and you create this expectation that you're going to be there and show up, that you really do honor the host, and hosts, that you honor your guests. I think that's really important.
And from somebody who has personally, I have missed an interview here or there, right? Like somehow I missed the time zone got wrong on my calendar, or I double booked, or I got distracted. Like I have made that mistake of missing a podcast interview, and I'm devastated, right, when I do, because I know I can picture them sitting there on camera, everything ready to go, and they're waiting for me, and I just no-showed them, but I think that it's important for us to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? If we don't know about time zones, like what time is that? Put that in our calendar, set reminders, set alarms, different things that'll help us to show up for each other. Because I think our most valuable asset is our time.
Yeah.
Right? You could be sleeping, you could be doing any other things. You held this spot for this person, and vice versa. As a guest, or as a host, right? If you've told a guest you're going to interview them, like show up for each other. But I also like to give people the benefit of the doubt too, right? And extend a little bit of grace, because I think I just saw this story about somebody following a car, and they had a sign in the back that said, "Please be patient learning how to drive a stick shift,"
Nice.
right?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, because I saw that sign, I found myself giving them a little bit more grace and patience, a little bit more room. But most of us aren't walking around with signs that say, this is what I'm struggling with, right? My cat was just diagnosed. My mom is sick. My kids are this, right? Like we all, if we had a sign saying what we were really dealing with, I think that we would all be a little bit kinder to each other, but we don't have those signs. So it is necessary for us to extend some grace, reach out. I'm sorry, did something happen?
Yeah.
Can we reschedule? Because I think at least inside the Need a Guest group, there is some accountability, right? They're inside the group. They know people are seeing their posts, seeing their connections. And hopefully there's some accountability. But I think at the heart that most people want to do the right thing and show up for each other, show up for an appointment that they made. And if they didn't, if we can just extend some grace, and just we didn't read their sign of what they're dealing with.
Yeah. And I've done it myself. Because I work nights, I set my alarm to the wrong AM or PM, and
for sure.
I wake up 4 hours later, come to my computer, and they're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh no. I just did it. I did what happens to me. I did it to someone else." So we're all humans and we're kind of navigating this. So, but just keep in mind that, there's somebody on the other end that's counting on you, hosts. There's guests counting on you to show up. Make sure you show up. It goes both ways.
It does.
Right.
It does. And so sorry that, I mean, that's just, it's kind of life. But I mean, I've shown up at the airport, believe it or not, where I had the AM PM wrong on my flight. So I show up at night and my flight left 12 hours ago. I mean, I've screwed up on that level. And I'm embarrassed to say, David, it's happened to me more than once. So.
Well, there you go. See, that's great. What about things on Need a Guest where you're like, okay, everybody, if I could just have all of you sit down together for a second, I just want to share with you a few things about Need a Guest that you need a reminder on how we do things here, how we treat each other here. Is there anything that you can do to encourage us as a Need a Guest user that we can do better on Need a Guest?
Yeah, I think number one, follow David Campbell, because you are a shining example. I'm just a big believer of givers gain, right? Like give first, come in and show up. Where do you add value? Where can you support? How can you encourage? Too often, I think sometimes we just kind of get in this space of what's in it for me, right? I'm going to come in, I'm going to do an email list grab, right? I'm going to, hold back on what this really is. It's a sales pitch. It's not really an interview. In my world, when I say I need a guest, guests are free. Guests are invited. Guests are guests, right? If you need a client, that's different. If somebody's paying you, that's very different. And so if there is a fee, that's not needing a guest. I think that's just the language isn't there. So you're looking for a client, you're in the wrong group. Mm-hmm. Here we really are looking for people who are looking for guests for their podcasts, who maybe need a speaker for their event. And so, give first, come and be encouraging, come and endorse, come support. And then, yeah, make sure that you're just not there for just the email list grab. It's probably the icky that I see a lot. Um, but honestly, the ones that are my favorite are somebody who's got a really clear description of what they're looking for or what they speak on, and respond back to the comments below. I always say that marketing is starting a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So if somebody comments, reply to them, respond. But I will see all of these posts where people are, they have 20, 30, even more comments and no reply from the person who posted the original post. Like, have a conversation. These are humans.
Yeah.
They're nice people. We don't bite.
No. Right.
And we are kind, right? There's a diverse variety of shows. Like, if you want it, we probably got it, right? I mean, there's such a variety of podcast shows and guests inside of the group. And so I think you'll find what you're looking for, but come with an open heart to give and support.
Yeah. So when I click on and I look at my content on your page, there's like pending, published, declined with feedback, removed with feedback, and flagged. What are some of the things that get declined as a post on here that maybe we're doing wrong that we just don't know we're doing wrong?
Yeah. So we do have, because there's 33 plus thousand people in it, we do have some admin controls that are automated. So if you try to post a video, it will be automatically declined. There's no videos. And again, that we're just trying to reduce the spam inside of the group. So no videos. There are certain keywords that will get a post declined. Somebody coming in and saying we're doing free logos, we're giving away all of our free stuff, right? And they those kinds, like, people take your money and you'll never hear from them again. So we do have some keywords that get deleted. And then, of course, Facebook also has its own things that they'll decline for copyright issues, anything that goes against their community standards. So sometimes things get removed and deleted, and it's not even us, it's community standards from Facebook. But for us, it's videos. And if it happens to have a keyword, or if you are selling on the back end, or you're inviting somebody to another Facebook group. So don't come in here to poach to another Facebook group.
That makes sense. What about like links? Like, for example, I have my calendar link. And when because I get so many great responses from your page, I go in and I go to their DM and I directly send them my calendar link so that they can actually respond to my post. And I thank them and all that. But there's been times where I've had so many people respond to my post on Need a Guest that I actually get blocked from responding to these people one-on-one. And I can't even send them the calendar link. I have no way to send them.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever noticed when we want to do a link, because Facebook there's a certain number, right? And it's like 22, right? If you send, and that number could change, right? And in any day, and Facebook does what Facebook does. So if you post too many links, right, whether that's even in a post or in the private message, it'll block you for an hour, 3 hours, 24 hours. You go to their little jail. That's their rule. Yeah. So the way we get around that is we'll write out the URL, www.needaguest, and then we'll write the word .dot com, so that somebody else, and they're like, can you just put the link in here? I'm like, I wish I could, but we're responding to so many people so fast, I'll get blocked if I put too many links in a row. And that's, we do. And our community managers get blocked, right? Like, it happens all the time, but it's from links. And that's putting too many links, because Facebook, they want you on their site. Yeah. Anytime you put a link, you're taking them off of their site. Right.
Makes sense.
So if you can play by the rules, the other thing that we do, David, is we'll make a graphic of sorry about that. Yeah. We'll make a graphic that has the URL in the graphic. And so on a post, you can comment, right? Here's the link to my calendar. And so if you have like a fun URL, right? bookwithdavid.com, right? And put it in a photo, put it in an image, and then you can reply with the image, and they'll have the link there. That makes
sense. That's great. I love that. So those are great tips because, again, we want people to connect. We want people to have a great experience on Need a Guest. So any of those things are helpful. What else is helpful from a new user, brand new, first day on Need a Guest? They don't know anybody. They don't know what they're doing, but they need great guests. What's your first, say, 2 or 3 tips for a brand new user on Need a Guest?
Right. So of course, right, if you've got a good graphic about, right, your thumbnail and you want to post that, we allow you to put the link to your show, so that people know. But what's really interesting is what people will respond to. Even like they'll like, I just need a guest on this one thing, right? If even vague posts can get incredibly good value and good content. But as a host, my recommendation is to have some type of application or filter that people take the next action, and try to automate this, because you'll get a lot of responses. And so if you're sending a lot of personal DMs, you're emailing, right, it can be very time consuming. So have a quick and easy form. I mean, I have seen forms that take me 20 minutes to fill out, and we'll move on, because
Right.
I'll fill out a 20-minute form after I've been approved, but I don't want to fill out a whole bunch of 20-minute forms just to see if I'll get
Yeah.
approved, right? Because I mean, that could be very time consuming too. So something really simple, right? What do you speak on? And, what do you bring to the table? Where can I find more information about you? Something, 3 or 4 questions will get you really valuable information, filter out the right guests for yourself, and get people to take action, right? Rather than just say, hey, me, right? And put the onus back on you. I think it's our responsibility as the guest to provide you with the content that we share and can bring to your show.
I love it. Now, we did have a situation happen recently with Facebook where it was down for a little bit. And I'm like, oh no, I can't get to Need a Guest because I can't get on Facebook for whatever reason. That's the one scary part about using the platform. But you have something that also complements at needaguestdirectory.com. So talk to us about what that is and how that works with Need a Guest. What's the connection?
Yes. So with you, right? When you're relying on this platform that's not ours, that has its own set of rules that could go away and any day, we kind of put a safeguard for ourselves in place. And we have a directory called Need a Guest Directory that we encourage our hosts to put their shows in that directory. And then we use that internally. So I have access to all of those shows. Also, our clients have access to all of those shows. So if for some reason the Facebook group goes down, they don't have access to it, they have 24/7 access to all of our really great podcast hosts who have added their show onto that directory. And it's free. We feel like if we can add value to podcast hosts, the more hosts that are in our network, the better value the group is, the better value we provide for our clients. And so we're always out looking for new hosts. So needaguestdirectory.com is where they can add their show. They give us the details about their show, and then we use that in-house, to keep the show going, right? To keep bringing you great guests every single week. We want you to use the networking group for free, the community. We want you to add your show. We will promote your show to our email list, our newsletter, when you first enter your details into the directory, if it's a qualified show. And then we'll also promote it a couple times a year out to our clients as well, to help give you free exposure, free subscribers, free listeners, and hopefully really great guests as well.
Is there any way for podcasters who are monetized or have the ability to support Need a Guest that we can actually contribute and financially help support this? I never want to see this go away because I've got so much value. I feel as a podcast host, I want to give value back to you and your team. How do we do that? Is that even possible?
There's a couple things that you could do, right? If you do have a group, an email list, or a following, and just talk about Need a Guest and encourage people that it exists. Number one, that would be the most helpful to us. If you know other podcasters, if you want to send an email out about Need a Guest, inviting your audience to follow us, we would love that. The group is free. We're just looking for more boots on the ground to share this beautiful message. And then if there was something, collaborative wise, we do a lot with email marketing, even though we run this incredible Facebook group. The way we grow our business is we do 2 interviews a week on somebody else's show, and we send an email every day. So we do a lot with email marketing. And so there's some collaboration we do with our JV partners when it comes to sending emails out on each other's behalf, which is really, really awesome.
So we can all spread the word. We can all help this grow. And we can help both the Facebook group Need a Guest and needaguestdirectory.com. We can also be a part of that and help spread the word. That's what we can do for you.
That would be over the moon for me.
Okay, because we have a lot of listeners to the show, and they're always looking for ways to support amazing people who give, like you're doing and your team is doing. So, yeah, I'm thrilled that we can share more about Need a Guest with the audience so that they can connect with you and be a part of this. Anything else, Angel, that you're thinking about in the podcasting space that you're like, you have the listener's ear right now. We have a bunch of podcasters at different stages. Any kind of words of encouragement or words of that we can just kind of support and build up podcasters? What are you seeing? What are you hearing in podcasting right now?
Podcasting to me and what I am seeing is we are barely tipping the iceberg on the potential of podcasts. Is even though there have been, probably 4 million people started a podcast, as far as active podcasters, who are actually putting out fresh new content on a consistent basis, weekly or even more than once a week, is very rare. There's just not enough of us when you compare that to old school radio. So right now, if you have an idea for a show, there's an audience that is probably anxiously awaiting for you to start your own broadcast, right? And you can do it with the equipment you probably have access to, right? The microphone in your laptop, from your phone. Like you have the equipment in most cases to get started right away. If you've got access to the internet and a microphone that you can record yourself. So one, just know that there's an audience out there that is probably right now searching online, right? Podcast listener who's looking for a show that talks about X, right? Which talks about what you speak on. So if you have an idea, like start your own show. I think we often worry that who's going to listen and does anybody want to hear this? And we beat ourselves up and we talk ourselves out of it. But I heard this story once. It was talking about how, like, at the end of our days, right, we're handed a box, and this beautiful box has our name on it, big ribbon, beautiful box, and you open up the box, and it's filled with little pieces of paper folded up into squares, and you open up the box, or you open up the first paper and you see a name and you don't recognize the name. So another piece of paper, I read a name, I don't recognize that name. And you start unwrapping these papers and you don't recognize any of the names in this box. And so you hand it back. You're like, you gave me the wrong box. I don't know who any of these people are. Like, I don't know any of these people in my box. Those are the names of the people that you reached, that your story impacted, that you never got to meet. Mm. That's the value of being a podcast host and a podcast guest, is we are filling our box full of names of people we will never meet, but that we will impact. And there are people every day looking for hope. They're looking for stories. They're looking to be entertained. Audio, like, we have more time in our day to listen to audio than anything else. I can take it on the go. I can take it with me. I can press pause and pick it up later. It creates an evergreen platform for your story to get out. Somebody might not listen to this until next week, next month, next year, right? But the story still resonates. Podcasting is one of the only platforms in media that has that kind of potential and that reach, where people can take it on the go, download their favorite episodes, and really connect with the host and the guest. And so the impact of podcasting is probably one of the greatest opportunities. And I believe, David, it is mostly untapped.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. Yeah, I think people reach out to me. They're like, Dave, I think I'm too late to the game. I have this podcast idea, but there's so many podcasts. And who's going to listen to me? Well, the one person who can create your podcast is you. I can't do your show. I'm not you. I have not learned what you've learned. I've been through those lessons. I don't know the people you know, read the books you've read, been to the schools you've been to. I'm not you. So you're the only one that can do your show. So you're competing against yourself, really. So if you don't do your show, it's never going to happen. There might be 100 shows that sound like your show or talk about your topic, but they're not you. So there's room for you. Yeah. So please.
Yeah.
There's lots of room.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I help authors publish their books, and they're like, there's already books on this subject, but it's your stories.
Yeah.
Just like you said, the books you've read, the experience, the walk that you walked, that's what makes it unique. And that's why it has to be you, because nobody else can do that. David, that was so inspiring.
Yeah. And then my Living the Next Chapter podcast, my author podcast, I've had Hollywood actors, I've had musicians, I've had doctors and lawyers and men and women serving their country. I've had single parents. I've had children as young as 5 on my podcast, as old as 85 as adults. I've talked to the most amazing people. I've traveled the world from Tokyo to New Zealand to the UK, all in one day, just with a microphone and a headset. It's amazing who you get to talk to. And I have the ability to couch surf the entire world. I have people like, Dave, I live in California. Come on down. We'll take you to restaurants. I have a table seat in a restaurant in New York City. I can go anywhere. And there's people that are just like, I can't believe you're in my town. Come and see me. Like, just by doing this, it's real human interaction and connection. And that's what I love about Meet a Guest, is you're helping us do that. So that's why I love your page.
I'm so excited to have met you, right? The fact that we do have somebody who is using the group, you are a shining example of why we have the group. Our goal is to support you, is to support podcasters. There's not a lot of space where podcasters can go and feel that support. But truly, if we can add value to you, you bring so much value to us. And especially because you do have multiple shows, and especially because you broadcast more than one show a week. Like, truly, when I said you're my new BFF, I was not kidding. Right? I'm going to put Dave on my speed dial, because I just thank you for being so productive and answering the call. Right? You got the idea. I mean, how many of times do we get an idea? Oh, I should start this. I should do this. And then we dismiss it. Yeah. But you took action, right? And so we are men of action. We started the Facebook group out of taking action and decided to grow it and to maintain it, taking action, right? We cannot steer a parked car. So just start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Something is better than nothing. Mm-hmm. And I love, it, and follow David, right? Follow his example. Take his lessons. Do what he's learned, right? Get yourself surrounded in a community that will support you, that will guide you, that will minister to you, to mentor you, give you the wings to the air beneath your wings to fly, because it's the only thing stopping you is that stupid little voice in your head that says you shouldn't, because there's no other reason not to.
I love it. So we'll have links to Facebook groups, so you can go there right away and sign up. Make sure you get on there. Everyone, come on. It's a private group, so you got to do all the things to get in. But once you're in, you'd be surrounded with 34,000 people who are amazing. So that's good. And then you also have to go to needaguestdirectory.com as well and connect with Angel and her team over there as well. Anywhere else that you want to send people, Angel, besides those 2 spots?
Those are my favorite, right? The Facebook group, it's absolutely free. If you've got a show, the directory, needaguestdirectory.com. We do have a 3-part episode training if people want to know how we use it, the Facebook group, how we monetize being a guest for business. If you go to needaguest.com, they can get access to that 3-episode series that Jamie and I recorded. And all of that, is just free, so we can be here to support you in your growth.
I love it. Angel, thank you so much for taking time out of your day and away from the group. You got a lot, so many things you need to go back to now in the group as well, and your team. So thank you for making time to be on the How to Podcast series.
Thank you for inviting me, David. This was a pleasure.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for being here on the How to Podcast series. Glad to have you on the show with us, listening in. I hope they're finding value in the podcast. I hope they're finding something that helps you with your show, helps you with the tools and the information from these amazing guest co-hosts through our daily Daves and these solo episodes. The variety of what we're doing here on the podcast is all designed for you, so that you can get the tools you need to create your podcast and keep going with your show. That's why we're here. That's why I'm doing this. And I'm glad you're here finding value in this. If you would like to do a little bit more than just be a listener, if you want to do community with podcasters, we have a thing called our Meetup on meetup.com. you can come find us, and there'll be a link on our website at howtopodcast.ca, and you can come and join in on our meetup. Instead of just being a listener, you could actually participate and come in and join other podcasters just like you at your stage, at your level, where you're at right now. And then other podcasters who are maybe a little further down the road, who can learn from you and you can learn from them. And we host these meetups on a regular basis. Again, go to howtopodcast.ca and you'll find all the information there. We'd love for you to come join us at our next meetup. The only thing we need at our next meetup is you. You're the only thing missing from all of this. So consider joining our meetups. Again, they're totally free on a regular basis, all through howtopodcast.ca. And I'd love to hear more from you about your podcast as well. There's a SpeakPipe link on howtopodcast.ca. Leave a message. I'd love to hear about you and your show and how we can work together to get your message into the world. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for sharing the show with another podcaster that you're like, hey, I think you'd really like this episode. Go ahead, share the episode, and let's get more podcasters on the mic. Thanks for listening.